So, you want to stop smoking? Well, in today's episode of Dr. Nora, I tell you why you should break the habit and how to do so effectively. Did you know that over 19,000 deaths in Australia happen each year due to smoking-related illnesses? Well, it is time before you pick up that cigarette to think again, because I'm going to give you the lowdown as to why smoking is so addictive, what it does to your health, and how to stop successfully. First up, let's talk about why smoking is so addictive. We know that people out there can be addicted to nicotine, and nicotine is a substance which is found inside of cigarettes. We know that people who are addicted to nicotine may be those who smoke over 10 cigarettes a day, or those people who have a cigarette within 30 minutes of waking up. If this sounds like you, then you may have a chance of having a nicotine addiction. But why is nicotine so addictive in the first place? Well, nicotine is a very clever substance. Once it's inhaled through the cigarette smoke, it actually travels really quickly in through our bloodstream, and from there it goes into our brain. And when it hits our brain, it acts onto the reward pathway into our brain. And so what happens is when you smoke cigarettes, nicotine goes into the brain, it activates that reward pathway, and it releases another chemical called dopamine. Now, you may know dopamine as your warm, fuzzy feeling, happy hormone that is released when you might be doing something pleasurable, for example, ticking off a task from your list or even doing some exercises. But what nicotine does is it contributes to that reward pathway and hence causes dopamine to be released. And so what happens over a long period of time is that nicotine causes more of these pathways to be activated and releasing more dopamine. And so it's a lot harder for you to stop smoking in the long run, because let's face it, if you suddenly cut off your nicotine supply, no more dopamine is being released and you feel really groggy and really upset, and you'll have some cravings that you want to have those warm, fuzzy feelings back again. And that is why it is so hard to stop smoking. But the good news is once you do stop smoking, you stop having nicotine inside your system, eventually your sensors or your receptors get back to normal again, and you no longer need nicotine to give you that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. Instead, it could be going for a walk or doing exercise, for example. So now that we know what smoking does to our brains, let's talk about the rest of the body. And I'll tell you what, guys, it isn't pretty. Cigarettes contain over 4,000 chemicals. That is a lot of chemicals. And 43 of those are known to be carcinogenic, which means are known to cause cancer. Smoking over a long period of time can cause lots of changes to the body. And one of those changes is that it can cause lung cancer, and that can be a fatal disease. It can also cause chronic bronchitis and also emphysema as well, which is essentially where the elasticity of the lungs no longer works. And so you feel like you're getting wind trapped inside of your lungs, but you just can't expel it out. And so what we often see is patients who suffer from emphysema have shortness of breath, they may have lots of coughing, and they're just unable to catch their breath because their lungs are so hyper expanded that they can't get rid of the air inside of their lungs. That sounds pretty scary. Now, there are other diseases that smoking can contribute to. It is a major risk factor for heart disease. As you can see over here, I've got my beautiful, healthy heart. If we continue to smoke, then the heart becomes clogged up, and so it leads to heart disease and even heart failure later on in life. Now, if the lungs and the heart weren't important to you guys, well, think about the effects it's having on your skin. Smoking causes premature aging of the skin. It causes a reduction in elasticity of our skin, and it makes us have those wrinkles, which surely no amount of anti-wrinkle treatment would help for that. Not only that, but it's also responsible for a lot of oral problems as well. So mouth problems such as mouth cancers, throat cancers, gum disease. And for the men out there, it can also be a contributing factor to erectile dysfunction. Now, as we can tell, smoking has a huge amount of effects on the body, and it is super important to try and give it up as quickly and as fast as you can. Now, the reasons being is because once we stop smoking, actually our bodies start to heal themselves, and you notice a lot of differences that happen within a short period of time once you break the habit. Let's go through some of the changes that happen on your body when you quit the habit. First up, 20 minutes after your last cigarette, your blood pressure drops and your heart rate drops, which is really good, so you're no longer feeling stressed or anxious. Within 12 hours, almost all of the nicotine is metabolized within your body. 24 hours after your last cigarette, your levels of carbon monoxide, which is a harmful gas inside of your body, which deprives your body of having oxygen around it, actually drops dramatically as well. Within 5 days, your sense of smell and taste start to return. Within 3 months, the cilia start to recover. Now, what are the cilia? Well, the cilia are your background little small hairs that are waving along inside of your nasal passages that are trying to keep out any bugs from your system. In smokers, we know that the cilia are damaged and they no longer flow and they can't keep any bugs out. And so that's why we know that smokers generally tend to pick up more bugs and more illnesses, because those cilia or your protective mechanisms just aren't functioning. But the good news is, if you stop smoking, within 3 months, that cilia starts to recover and your lung function actually starts to improve as well. Within 1 year of stopping smoking, your risk of heart disease actually halves to that compared to a person who continues to smoke. How amazing is that? And within 10 years, your risk of lung cancer reduces by more than half of that of a continued smoker. And finally, within 10 to 15 years, your all-cause mortality rate drops to that of a person who has never smoked before in their life. So just take a look at that. The longer you stop smoking, the more beneficial it will be for your body and the greater you'll feel. Your smell will come back, your taste will come back, your cilia will start working, you have more oxygen going around in your body. Oh my goodness, sign me up now. How do I stop smoking successfully? Well, you're in luck because in this part of the episode, I'm going to be taking you through how to stop smoking successfully with the aid of your general practitioner. Now, if you've just heard all that wonderful advice and you really want to stop smoking now, it is super important that you seek your own individual treatment from your own medical practitioner because some therapies may not be suitable for some and may be suitable for others. Broadly speaking, there are a number of therapies that are out there that are available for you guys out there who do want to stop smoking. The first up is nicotine replacement therapies. Now, these may take the form of gum, lozenges, sprays, or even tablets as well. And the idea of this is to take you away from those 4,000 plus chemicals that cigarettes contain and just give you that nicotine because you may be addicted to nicotine. And so by reducing all those nasty things, your lungs at least can recover and we can then work on the nicotine addiction together and try to get you off that very slowly, but surely. We know that there aren't really any significant differences between lozenges and sprays and tablets, provided you're having some sort of nicotine replacement. If you are addicted to nicotine, you're more likely to succeed. And speaking of success rates, did you know that the quit rate of those at 1 year unassisted without any treatment whatsoever is only 7%? And that just further emphasizes the importance of you having extra support from your doctor, from your family, friends, and even some other methods as well, which we'll talk about very shortly. Aside from nicotine replacement therapies, there are also other medicines that your doctor may prescribe you. Now, these are oral tablets that can reduce the cravings of nicotine and also reduces the withdrawal symptoms that you may be experiencing when you have stopped smoking. However, these tablets aren't suitable for everybody, and it's really important that you discuss this with your doctor to make sure you're suitable for them. Now, let's talk about vaping or e-cigarettes. Now, this is something that is, I have to say, a little bit popular out there, and some people would even do it as a fashion statement. Now, I would highly discourage this because vapes or e-cigarettes basically contain nicotine within a solution and they contain flavors and people smoke them in the hope that maybe they're going to stop smoking. However, over here in Australia, as of October 2021, Australians were no longer able to buy e-cigarettes or vaping cigarettes on the street and instead have to get them from their GP as a prescribed medication. But bear in mind that e-cigarettes or vaping is an unapproved drug over here in Australia by the Therapeutic Goods Administration or the TGA. And this is simply because we just don't simply have enough long-term data to tell us or studies how safe it is or how effective it is in terms of a smoking cessation plan. And speaking of that, it is not considered to be a first-line treatment for those of you who are out there who want to stop smoking. We as general practitioners and doctors across Australia recommend other therapies such as nicotine replacement therapies or oral tablets before trying vaping. And if those measures haven't worked, then that's a discussion you can have with your doctor to consider whether vaping could be an option for you. Now, as a general practitioner, I certainly do have some concerns about vaping. Not only is it an unapproved drug, but there are also concerns about the long-term efficacy of it and the long-term safety. We simply just don't have enough data to tell us if it is safe in the long run. There are also a lot of concerns from general practitioners about people using vaping plus cigarettes together concurrently, which obviously is not what they're there for. And there is also that small little concern that maybe vaping or e-cigarettes are thought to be glamorous and they can appeal to those under the age of 18 because of their flavors and because maybe simply you just want to look cool. But remember guys, it does contain nicotine, and nicotine, as we said earlier, is a chemical which can cause a lot of disruption on a brain level. So please, please, please don't just pick it up for the sake of picking up because your friends are doing it. It's not cool. Trust me, your lung health is so much more important than that. Okay, Dr. Nora, so you told me about nicotine replacement therapies, you told me about oral tablets, and even vaping and e-cigarettes as well. Are there any other measures that we can do to help us to stop smoking that don't involve those things? Well, yes, there certainly are. And these can be classified as two different things, so cognitive and behavioral changes. First up, let's talk about cognitive changes. Now, these are changes that rely on you using your logical thought processes to help you to stop smoking in the future. Some examples of this could be that before you stop smoking, make a list of the things that you do in your day. Think about what the triggers are that make you smoke. And so when it comes to you stopping smoking, you can look back at those triggers and say, you know what, I know that if I go out and have a cup of coffee, I'm going to have a cigarette. So therefore you want to change your ways, and perhaps you don't associate then that activity with a cigarette. Instead, you do something else with that activity. Another example may be that you want to keep a list of all of the benefits and all the good things that can happen to your body once you stop smoking. Perhaps you can write something on the fridge, a pros and a cons list, that whenever you feel like you just want to pick up that cigarette, you have a look and you say, nope, you know what? My lungs are more important than that white stick. I'm gone. That also obviously depends on you being a very willpowered and strong person, because as we said before, smoking is very addictive. And another method that you can try at home is, if you are that strong-willed person, good for you, well done. See if you can actually stop yourself from thinking about smoking. So I know that when I wake up in the morning, I have a cigarette. How about now I think about not doing that in the morning? I actually stop myself in my tracks, and rather than going downstairs on the patio to have a cigarette, I'm going to take the dog out for a walk. I'm going to put the dishes in the dishwasher instead. And therefore you want to just change the ways that you do these patterns every day. And surely over time, you'll learn how to rectify and modify your own triggers. Now, speaking of behaviors that could help you to stop with those triggers, could include things like delaying yourself to have a cigarette. So again, if you think that you want to have a cigarette and you're just about to reach onto that packet, how about you say to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to take a moment. I'm going to go and I'm going to have a glass of water. I'm going to savor the taste of water on my mouth. I'm going to think about how much water is going in my body. Try to distract your brain in a way that you're not thinking about your cigarette instead. Maybe if you don't like the taste of water, perhaps you can take some deep breaths. Think about mindfulness. Think about how you're taking that breath. How is the air flowing into your lungs? How does it feel to expand your lungs and relax your lungs? And then hopefully with that method, you'll be able to even forget that you even thought about that cigarette, and instead you're focusing on your lung health and your lung volume as well. My last tip for you guys out there is one that I cannot stress enough for all of my patients who do come in with the willpower and the hope that they want to quit smoking. And that is two things. One, set a target date. For example, I'm going to set that I don't want to smoke on March the 1st, and I'm going to basically throw out all of my paraphernalia. And I do recommend this to all my patients. Throw out the paraphernalia, the cigarettes, the lighters, throw out the ashtrays, anything in the house that could possibly tempt you back in or remind you that smoking is an option. Just chuck it all out. The second advice I always give my patients who really want to stop smoking is to tell your friends. Tell your friends when your date is that you want to stop, because when your friends are there, then hopefully, if they're good friends, they'll be able to say, hey, you're supposed to be stopping smoking tomorrow. What are you doing with all of these cigarettes in your pocket? Or why are you buying some smokes? And then if your partner smokes as well, get them on board with you, because it is so much harder to quit smoking if there's someone in the same house who's smoking with you. So make sure that you perhaps share this video with them and tell them all of the health benefits that will happen once they stop smoking, and then set a target date together. And that way you can keep each other in check. One final thing for you guys, if all of this wasn't enough for you to stop smoking, then think about the monetary value. Guys, currently in Australia, a packet of 20 cigarettes, I kid you not, a packet of 20 cigarettes right now costs around $28. Now, for those of you who smoke around 20 a day, let's say, that is over $10,000 a year. Now that surely is money that you could be spending on other activities, holidays, something so beautiful that is not contributing to heart disease or lung disease or oral cancer or any of those nasty things. And finally, guys, remember, if you are thinking about quitting smoking, good for you. I'm so happy for you. Please remember that you are not alone. There is an abundance of resources out there, from your general practitioner to websites online to phone lines. I will leave all the links in the description below for you guys to follow up on. I hope you guys have found this video useful. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to drop me a line in the comment section below. But for now, take care and stay healthy. Scully, have you not learned anything? It is time to break the habit and stop smoking. All right, I'm just going to have to do it for you. No, my cigarette, it's gone. Scully, did you not learn anything from the lecture today? Well, I learned that my lungs are going to get better when I stop smoking. Exactly. So just spit it out. Spit it out right now, Scully. Go for it. Okay. You know what, Dr. Nora? That was such an informative video. I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit right now. Thank you so much.